Ever wondered why some consider Queen Victoria worse than Hitler? In this video, we will unravel the surprising historical complexities that fuel this controversial comparison. The sun never sets on the British Empire. This quote was coined to demonstrate this massive size and power of Great Britain during the height of its imperialistic era. But who led the charge for this growth? And what secrets did they hide to protect the image of the crown? Today, we take a look at the dark side of Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria, born Alexandrina Victoria in 1899, ascended to the British throne in 1837 at the age of 18. Despite being fifth in the line at birth, she moved up due to the deaths of her uncles and father. The race for succession intensified after the death of Princess Charlotte, ultimately securing the throne for Victoria's father. However, he died just 8 months after her birth. By age 10, Victoria knew she would be queen. When she ascended in 1837, the monarchy was unpopular due to predecessors' extravagant lifestyles. Calls for a republic emerged, but Victoria's reign would reshape public perception. In 1839, Victoria proposed to her first cousin, Prince Albert, as royal protocol required the reigning monarch to make the offer. Despite political advantages, their union was marked by genuine love. They married in 1840, pioneering a more public royal wedding. Victoria's choice of a white wedding dress became a lasting tradition. The couple had 9 children, and their strong marriage endured until Albert's death in 1861 at the age of 42. Queen Victoria's reign is celebrated for overseeing imperial expansion, profound technological and societal changes. Well liked by the public, she was seen as a loving mother and queen, emphasizing home life. Victoria worked to revitalize the crown's popularity, supporting charities, arts, and civic issues. These efforts made the royal family influential and endeared them to the society. Queen Victoria, despite enduring at least 7 assassination attempts, remained popular with the public due to her unbothered attitude. However, behind the cheerful facade of her reign, her relationship with her 9 children was strained. The constant pregnancies left Victoria increasingly reliant on Prince Albert for royal duties, leading to resentment and a loss of authority, particularly during her pregnancies. Once the children were born, Victoria didn't much care for them either. She found the newborn's frog-like actions terrible and said that an ugly baby is a very nasty object. Of her eldest son, Bertie, she remarked, "Handsome, I could not thank him with that painfully small and narrow head, those immense features and total want of chin." She also blamed him for the death of her beloved Albert. Albert had visited Bertie at Cambridge to talk to him after an incident of unacceptable behavior by the Queen. The two men took a long walk in the rain, and Albert would die just weeks later. It's believed he died of typhoid. But Victoria would blame Bertie for years. When Bertie married, Victoria had them take their wedding photos with a bust of Albert. In one photo, Victoria can be seen staring at the bust instead of a son and new daughter-in-law. Victoria controlled her children's adult lives, especially after Albert died. She began to cling to her daughters but remained controlling and judgmental of their lives. She established a ring of spies to keep tabs on Bertie and his new wife. She also monitored his wife's activities and had a doctor report back to her when he thought she might be pregnant. In addition, Victoria appeared quite judgmental of her daughter Alice, who enjoyed breastfeeding her children. The Queen called the practice animalistic and even named one of her cows Alice because of the breastfeeding. Queen Victoria's charitable reputation can also be called into question. The Great Famine in Ireland began in 1845 and lasted until 1849. It was the worst famine in Europe during the 19th century. The British response to the famine was lackluster, and the responsibility to help those impacted by the famine fell to the landowners in Ireland. However, when their tenant farmers could not pay rent, the avenues for the relief dried up. The government's lack of support only fueled Irish resentment towards British rule. During the famine, approximately 1 million Irish people died of starvation or disease, and another 2 million immigrated to places like United States to escape the conditions of living in Ireland at the time. Queen Victoria donated £1,000 to the British Relief Association, a charity formed to relieve the Irish famine. However, the association's secretary refused to money and stating that the amount needed more of a donation from the Queen. She upped her donation to £2,000, which was accepted. She became the charity's largest donor. However, she was only the most significant donor thanks to royal protocol. The Sultan of Turkey wanted to donate £10,000 to assist relief efforts, but to not upstage the British monarch, it was asked that his donation be lowered to just £1,000. Her underwhelming response to this famine led to Victoria being dubbed the Famine Queen. Victoria also had a prolonged feud with her mother's lady-in-waiting, Lady Flora Hastings. Victoria intensely disliked Hastings. She was forced onto Victoria by her mother before becoming queen. Hastings had to report to her mother about Victoria. So, a scandal that could ruin this person she despised may have seemed like a gift to the young queen. In 1839, Victoria became suspicious of Hastings after she returned to London from a visit to her family home in Scotland. She had been in pain and feeling ill for a few weeks, and her stomach was swelling. Hastings was seen by the court physician who prescribed medicine, but it was ineffective. Ladies in Victoria's courtroom noticed the stomach swelling. In early February, Queen Victoria suspected Lady Hastings was pregnant, attributing it to her disdain for Sir John Conroy. To dispel the scandal, a medical examination was ordered to verify Hastings' chastity and rule out pregnancy. The invasive exam conducted by 2 doctors concluded she was not pregnant and remained a virgin. Victoria's mother, appalled by the ordeal, dismissed one of the performing doctors, expressing her discontent. While her name was cleared of any scandal, the fact remained that Hastings was quite ill. However, Victoria even wrote in her diary that she did not think Lady Flora Hastings was as sick as everyone made her to be. There's evidence that the story of Lady Flora Hastings was quite far-reaching, as we know that small parishes around the country were praying for Lady Flora's health. Lady Flora would die that summer, and she demanded a post-mortem be conducted after her passing to clear her good name once and for all. Indeed, the autopsy would discover that Hastings would liver disease or liver cancer. It is said at the funeral, rocks were thrown at Queen Victoria's empty carriage. Finally, the reputation of expansion under Victoria's reign comes with many classic imperialistic horrors. The 19th century became Britain's imperial century as the country grew by 10 million square miles and 400 million people. By the end of her reign, an estimated 1/5 of the world's land mass was British rule. During her reign, it's estimated that 1 in 4 people fell under her rule. She spent the latter part of her reign focusing on Britain as an imperial power. In 1876, she became the Empress of India. Of course, the growth of the British Empire was only possible via the subjugation and colonization of people's worldwide knowledge. Because of the significant expansion of the empire during her rule, Britain was almost constantly at war while Victoria sat on the throne. When Queen Victoria died, it was said that the sun never sets on the British Empire, thanks to all the countries they had taken. Although the British public mostly revered Victoria at the time of her death and in the years that followed, historians today note that the great success that was Queen Victoria's reign came at a dire cost for others, particularly for subjects of the crown who are not British. Please consider how many places Victoria is called. Her name is everywhere. That's because of her. Victoria became known as the grandmother of Europe. By the end of her reign, many of her 9 children had been married, often to European monarchs, including Spain, Germany, Norway, and Russia. The thought was that wars would not be standard if the family sat on many thrones throughout the continent. Ironically, Queen Victoria's attempt for peace by marrying her family throughout Europe led to World War I, instigated by her grandson Kaiser Wilhelm II. At her death in 1901, Victoria was the Queen of Great Britain and Empress of India, with a 63-year reign later surpassed by her great-great-granddaughter, Queen Elizabeth II. We talked about whether Queen Victoria was worse than Hitler. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Thanks for watching and keep thinking about history in a simple way.